question on everyone's mind these days. What do you think about the Batman?
I'm frightened. This whole city's gone to hell in a handbasket.
Well, he's breaking the law, ain't he? So they ought to catch that freak and lock him up.
I won't say it's gonna be easy, but catching criminals is what we do. So this one dresses up like Dracula, so what? We're gonna take him down. What do we know about this Batman?
He's been beating the tar out of muggers and dope peddlers out there the last few weeks.
He's mostly been seen at night driving that hot rod of his 100 miles an hour.
And now he's even attacking our brave police.
Nice car.
This man is not a hero, he's a criminal. And his time in Gotham is up.
Mischief afoot, sir?
3 explosions in 2 weeks. Peculiar. There's something more going on here.
He knows too much. He's an itch that needs to get scratched.
The kings don't run this court anymore. The jester does.
Bang!
Look out!
We could be looking at
An all-out gang war on the streets of Gotham.
This is a losing battle. 100 other monsters will show up to replace anyone you take down.
Probably. But now they'll all know I'm coming for them.
Hello, everyone. My name is Heather Hurt with the NRW, where nerds rule the world, and that was the trailer for Batman Caped Crusader, arriving on Prime Video as of this recording tomorrow, August 1st. I am very excited to talk to you all about this. If you needed more than the trailer, if you needed more than the fact that J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves, and Bruce Timm brought together this animated series to watch this, I'm here to give you a quick review about the series as non-spoilery as I can. Y'all know that I do not like to give away spoilers, especially for comic book things. So here we are. Let's talk about it. Let's get through it. And that way you can just jump right on into the series tomorrow. Or if you're watching this on August 1st, today. The series is once again produced by Matt Reeves of The Batman and Bruce Timm of basically every single one of your favorite shows in the 90s that were animated, like Batman, the animated series. It also features the voices of Hamish Linklater, who plays Batman. I'm sorry, I wish I could say it was Kevin Conroy. No hate to Linklater. I think he actually did. We need to give everyone a chance. I think he actually did a really good job with Batman's voice. He definitely made Bruce Wayne and Batman his own. I do not think we should be comparing him and Conroy, but you know, Kevin Conroy will always have our hearts. Rest in peace. May he forever be one of the greatest Batmans of all time. But I digress. Linklater plays Batman. McKenna Grace plays Natalie Knight. Minnie Driver plays Oswalda Cobblepot, who we will be talking about in this review. No spoilers, but we will be talking about her. Toby Stevens, Haley Joel Osment, Christina Ricci, Reed Scott, Jason Watkins, and a large cast of incredible actors who voice characters from Batman's Rogues Gallery and from people within his general circle. It is worth your time. Go to the IMDb page. Definitely check out who went in to make this. It literally takes I know that QUP loves that statement. It takes a village to make a movie. It takes a literal village, if not a small city, to make an animated series. And it is definitely give everyone their props, especially because, and I just like to say this, especially when I see his name up there, it just gives me all of the happy butterflies. Bill Finger is actually getting all of his dues ever since 2016 when he saw his name up on the big screen related to Batman for the first time. We get to see his name. His name is actually above because it's just because it's in alphabetical order. It's not actually because he gets more credit. It just kind of makes my heart happy to see on the IMDb page for Batman Caped Crusader that Bill Finger's name is just above Bob Kane's. Do not get me wrong, as a forever Batman fan, I will always, always, always love Bob Kane, but it kind of makes me a little bit happy just to be like, Bill Finger's at the top of the call sheet for writing credits. Anyway, I digress. That is the cat, but please make sure you give all credit to cast and crew. It is an incredible show. A lot went into it, and some amazing voices put themselves behind these characters. All right, to get into the actual review though, let's talk about the one true complaint I had about this show. It takes a lot for me to ever say anything bad about Batman, anything. Like, I wish I could be more negative. I wish I could be a little less biased, but I always have a spot in my heart for Batman, anything. But trying to be the good critic that y'all deserve. My one true complaint about this is related to how we usually work these reviews with the NRW, where we talk about the plot. In the first episode, where we get to meet Oswalda, who is a Elseworlds version of the Penguin, of Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, we are introduced to what should be the plot of the series. It is an underlying story that's going on while we are introduced to the Rogues Gallery. To preface, Batman Caped Crusader Season 1 is mostly an introduction to a Rogues Gallery, to what will become a powerhouse, badass Rogues Gallery. But it's mostly an introduction. So in the first episode, the only reason I say this isn't a spoiler is because Prime Video already gave it away. We meet her, and we are kind of introduced to what will be that underlying plot throughout the first season. With that being said, that's kind of all you get. We do see elements of the plot occurring throughout the season, especially when it comes to characters like Two-Face, but we really don't get a lot. Not a lot progresses with the plot, with the story. It's really more an introduction to who this version of Batman is, to who these versions of the Rogues Gallery are, and to this version specifically of Gotham. So I know that here, once again, this is usually where we would kind of just break down the plot and what's going on. And one, I don't want to get too much into it because there's really so little of the plot that anything I gave away would be a spoiler. But two, it's actually one of the few things that really disheartened me about the series. And disheartened isn't really the correct word. It's more like slightly disappointed. You know, it's when you come home from playing in the playground and you got scraped up and your parents are kind of disappointed that you just decided to play a little rough. But they're not really mad. They're not angry. You didn't, you know, tear up your shirt or anything. You just kind of got roughed up a little bit. Yeah, I played that a little too far. I'm sorry. But with that being said, I am a little bit disappointed that we didn't get more of a plot, but it didn't necessarily take away from how much I enjoyed the show. So that's my review of the plot. Let's talk about everything else with the show. The art was fun. The characters were great. I really enjoyed a lot of them. Some of them I don't want to talk about, even though you have seen some spoilers already. One of the big ones is actually voiced by Kevin Smith, and I was surprised that they had him quote unquote voiced by a major star. If you're in the nerd community, you know Kevin Smith is a pretty big damn star. But it's still really fun to see, to be introduced to these characters from a different perspective. And that is where we're going to talk about the other part of Oswalda Cobblepot. Oswalda Cobblepot. I'm good at words. This is an Elseworld story. This is an Elseworld story. If you are not in the comic book community, that is okay that you've never heard that term. But you might have seen other Elseworld stories like Green Arrow or the Joker franchise. And what's very interesting about some things, especially franchises like the Joker, we see a lot of criticism based around, we see a lot of things that overshadow true criticism. And I'm sorry to break into this a little bit. I know that we have been called apolitical kind of a little bit here, but I am not talking about any politics here. No. Oswalda was already exposed to the public is kind of the wrong word. She was already announced by Prime Video, and we are already seeing backlash towards the fact that she is a woman in this Elseworlds has no connection to main canon series. We see that a lot with a lot of gender flipping, with a lot of race flipping, with a lot of variance in what would be more traditional canon, or what is assumed is more traditional canon. But then we see things like people jumping to protect other types of non-canon stories. As an example, the Joker. The toxicity is then turned around on the people that are unhappy with it or who make a slight statement against it. So all I want to say here is, if we can accept Elseworld stories that have, once again, and for those of you, I went into this sort of, for those of you not in comic communities, Elseworld stories are stories in different universes and on different timelines based in different realities, not necessarily connected by canon. And why I say not necessarily is sometimes those worlds interact. We see that right now happening in the MCU, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We see variants. They call it the variants in Marvel. We see those variants interacting with one another and breaking down the timeline. Alternates in the DC universe or Elseworlds do sometimes interact, but it's actually a lot less common. So with that being said, if we can accept some Elseworld stories, we should be able to accept any. It doesn't matter that she's a woman in this one, because she is still as much of a badass. She is as much of a mobster as any other Penguin. So with that being said, one thing that I just wanted to really put on the table is this is an Elseworld story. Accept that, understand it when you're going in, because it's going to be different. You're going to see different versions of basically everybody, including Batman, including Alfred. Basically, honestly, Kevin Smith's character, if you're going to the IMDb, you'll see who he is. But the only version that's truly not kind of different than in every other universe is Kevin Smith's character. But that's because he really can't be. So with getting that off the table, I really love the characters. They were a lot of fun. Being introduced to different versions of these characters that I absolutely love. Harley Quinn is a great example. She is played, I'm totally losing track of where I was going. She is played by Jamie Chung, and I loved this version of her. It actually really plays on some more of her basic origins, and I really liked it. They just kind of adjusted it to make her all her own versus a offshoot of a different character, and I really, really loved it. I wish I could say more, because you really need to see this. I'm usually one of those people that doesn't like to give spoilers, but I really don't want to give you spoilers this time because I really want you to enjoy it. And I'm trying to think of what else to say that wouldn't do that. And I think the last thing that I really, really want to tell you is something that a lot of critics are digging into right now. This is a Bruce Timm series. It was not directed by Bruce Timm. The three main directors were Christina Soda, Christopher Berkeley, and Matt Peters. It was not directed by him, but it was produced by him. So with that being said, this has a lot of the art style has a lot of similarities to a traditional, those regular old Bruce Timm shows that will harken back to your Paul Dini and Bruce Timm days where you were first falling in love with these characters and they dragged you into a lifelong passion for comic books. But it's not the same. And one thing I really, really want to do is I want to break down what a lot of other critics are doing. They are comparing this to BTAS. It is a completely different story. By the way, BTAS was also an Elseworld story, just saying. But with that being said, it did kind of maneuver its way into, but we'll get into that later. We won't get into that here. We can talk about that later. It is not the same. The art style is similar, but most of Bruce Timm's art is similar. You can go and look at some of his adult art book, and it's almost the exact same thing. Killing Joke as a statement, I just want to touch on it because Killing Joke has kind of a bad taste in my mouth. Is honestly one of the few things he's done that gives me a bad taste in my mouth. But that's really the only thing that's truly been different compared to all of the other stuff that he's done. And he's done a lot of stuff. He's been working in DC for decades. So with that being said, please don't go into this and listen to the other critics. Always listen to multiple critics. Don't just listen to one person, but don't go in and think this is a new BTAS. This isn't the new BTAS. It has no relation to BTAS. It has nothing to do with it. This is a series all its own with its own flow. This is a Batman that has similar characters with the same names and similar dress to all of the others, but it's its own story, its own tale, its own version of Gotham with its own people. They have their own origins. They are similar to what we see in main canon, but they're not the same, creating all new characters. And that's really it. Don't go in assuming that it's BTAS. Have fun with it. Know that it's an Elseworld story. Know that this is an introduction. This is an introduction. The hints, the breadcrumbs, the things that are being teased for season 2. I hope there's a season 2. I really do hope there's a season 2. I cannot wait. The things that are teased, let those be your guiding light to what will become your next obsession. You will become obsessed with this series. I do believe that. And that's my review. Batman Caped Crusader. I know that was kind of a mixed bag of a whole bunch of stuff, but understand that it all comes together. It's not BTAS, it's its own thing. It's an Elseworld story that gives you an introduction to an incredible, what will become an incredibly badass rogues gallery. And we get to meet the people and learn about the corruption of Gotham, which I really didn't touch on too much here, but it is an incredibly corrupt Gotham. And you get to see it from the eyes of a new Batman, of a different Batman. Enjoy it, watch it, tell me your thoughts. Batman Caped Crusader arrives on Prime Video on August 1st. All 10 episodes dropped on the first day. Give me your opinion. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Am I wrong at everything I just said? I don't think so, but you know, I'm a smart ass, so that's what happens. Tell me if you liked, disliked, thought that it could be better. What are your favorite parts? Tell me any of those things right down below in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, do all those things. Batman Caped Crusader, once again, Prime Video, August 1st. All 10 episodes drop. You can find me on all the socials. My details will be littered below. And follow us here. Thank you guys, and y'all have a wonderful day. Enjoy Batman Caped Crusader.